Hi, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Little Compton School Department's School Committee's regular meeting for Wednesday, February 9th. We'll call the meeting to order. If everyone could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I would also entertain a motion to enter into executive session under RIGL section 42, 46, 5A1, and also RIGL section 42, 46, 5A2. Please note, I'd like to make note that any person who is being discussed in executive session has been notified in writing in advance of this meeting and has been given the opportunity to have such discussion in open session pursuant of RIGL section 42, 46, 5(1), A1. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Could I have a vote by way of roll call, please, Mariah?
Allen.
Aye.
Travis Hottie.
Aye.
Hannah Ayat.
Aye.
Rita Kennahan.
Aye.
Mike Rocha.
Aye.
Right, thank you. Now we can go to the other Zoom link.
Ready when you are.
Thank you. Welcome back. We're reconvening in open session. I'm going to notify everyone that there were no votes taken in executive session. And I would consider a motion to seal the minutes of executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. And a vote by roll call, please, Mariah.
Allen.
Aye.
Travis Hottie.
Aye.
Hannah Ayat.
Aye.
Rita Kennahan.
Aye.
Mike Rocha. Mike Rocha.
Aye.
Great, thank you. Next up is the consent agenda. Does anyone have anything they want to pull out of the consent agenda?
I do, Polly. 4.3, please.
4.3. Correspondence?
Yes, please.
Okay, there's nothing there, Mike.
Right. So I have a question about that. So I figured this would probably be a good time to ask that.
Okay.
What do you need to do for it to come up into correspondence? Like when do we see correspondence from in here? What's this?
So typically it's something that was maybe just sent to one of us, or just sent to Lori or Mariah and asked to be shared in the consent agenda or shared in the public meeting. Can be that way. It can be a handwritten letter. Oftentimes you'll get thank you notes from scholarship recipients or other things, and someone will scan it in and include it there. Lori, can you think of what other correspondence gets shared there?
The thank you note from, oh, sorry, I'm printing something. The thank you note from the Portsmouth School Committee that my dog chewed. Thanking all of you for donating in the memory of the school committee member there who passed away. It really is up to the discretion of the chair and the superintendent what correspondences do get shared, because some correspondence, some pieces of correspondence I'm thinking of this year, they include very sensitive information about people's children. So Generally, if we can't share all emails, I think especially during these past 2 years, superintendents and school committee chairs have been receiving dozens and dozens of emails every week on different topics. We would have to, print out and scan reams of paper for some of them. And people have absolutely every right, absolutely, to share their views with us. But we certainly could never include all of that in course. So it's usually something sort of singular and informational that may not have been sent to the entire committee, that does not contain readily identifiable information about a student, that does not impugn a staff member. Yes, kind of rare to get correspondence from other school committees a lot regarding their resolutions and so forth. I believe those are shared every now and then.
If I received an email that someone specifically asked me to please put this on your school committee agenda in the correspondence, I would. Otherwise, I would be very reluctant to, even if it's not particularly sensitive information about a student. Not everybody wants their opinion shared publicly. I know I have had people say, I would like to email the school committee, or I would like to email you. I do not want it read at the school committee meeting. I do not want it to be a public document. So unless it was something, clearly a thank you or something from another school committee, unless someone really said, could you please share this as a public document, share it in correspondence, it would not be put there.
I guess we all received a lot of emails that we were all CC'd in, if you would, within the past couple, 2-3 weeks or so. And it's been since the last school committee meeting. So I thought I would have seen all that up on here on the correspondence, all these emails that we were all received, as a group, as a committee. So I figured that all those emails would be up here so that they're part of the record.
No, not without permission from everybody. Everybody, when no one would email the school committee or the or a lot of people they wouldn't feel comfortable emailing us with concerns for fear that their concerns would be part of a public meeting. They would have to specify, I would like my letter read at a school committee meeting, or I would like it included. We all saw the emails that were to the whole committee.
Right.
The whole committee got. If Lori receives something or Mariah receives something that says please share with the whole committee, they forward it on to the whole committee, as do I. I will pass it on to usually Mariah to pass on to everyone else, so we don't have a rolling quorum.
So
those emails were to us, they weren't to the public.
Okay, I figured that they would be part of the correspondence that we received.
Mike, they've never been part of the correspondence. We've been receiving emails the entire year. They've never appeared in the correspondence. Why you think they would appear now is kind of curious.
Just because there was emails that were certain people were asking for certain things, and it had to do with business that we take care of. So I figured that it would show there, it would be there.
No.
People also have the option during public comment to ask those questions that they've privately emailed us as well, if they wish to make those public. I think what Polly's trying to say is anybody's email can be included in this correspondence if they preface it with, please include this in the consent agenda, or please read this at the next school committee meeting. Otherwise, we're going to assume that it was just meant for our private viewing.
I would hate to include somebody's opinion in our information that they didn't want shared. And I can't pick and choose the emails that I think people want their opinion shared. So.
Okay, that's fine. Just
Now I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda, please.
We did have a hand up. I don't know if you're doing that
Oh.
now or if we're saving that all for public comment.
I did not see it. I apologize. Okay, so I will allow public comment even when it's not public comment. During our agenda meeting, we discussed this. We're going to go for a 3-minute. It's a part of our bylaws. We're going to do 3 minutes of public comment. So someone behind the scenes is going to be timing. I'm not sure if they'll be able to give you a warning or not. We'll try, but you have 3 minutes when you speak. So sure, Jonathan, whoever's got, I can't quite see who's got their hand up, but whoever does, if you could
The
let them.
username is Chartier. If you want to unmute yourself and state your name and address, please.
Hi, Kimberly Chartier, 9 High Meadow Road, Little Compton. I'm not sure if Mike was referring to possibly one of the letters that I sent to the entire school committee. But if he was referencing that, I just want to say that most parents, or a lot of parents, I would think, don't really know what the protocol is. So I would think that maybe if we sent a letter in, maybe it would have been helpful to get a response back that said something asking if we wanted it to be read, if we wanted it to be public. Some of us just, if we're not on the school committee or are not aware of these things, wouldn't even know that. So I think maybe if there was some sort of correspondence back to us asking us, it would be helpful. That's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Great, thanks. I did not receive an email from you, Ms. Chartier, so I will reach out to you with my email to make sure that you have it correct, so that doesn't happen again, but I did not receive an email. Unless it came in recently, I should say that. I haven't checked recently, but like within the last couple hours. All right, so we are at a motion to approve the consent agenda, please.
So
So
moved.
Second.
Thank you. Vote by roll call, please, Mariah.
Holly Allen,
Aye.
Travis Audi,
Aye.
Anna Ayat,
Aye.
Rita Kenahan,
Aye.
Mike Rocha.
Aye.
Great, thank you. All right, we're going to move on to Spotlight. 5.1, Spotlight on the 8th grade science fair. Jack, will you be taking that?
Yes, I will.
Awesome, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, our 8th grade science fair took place Friday, January 28th. All of our 8th graders participated in it in 3 different sessions. Before I even start talking about some of our winners, I do have to shout out Miss Marissa Brazil, our 7th, 8th grade science teacher, for her outstanding work in preparing the students, number one, but also preparing the day. You know, the confines of trying to produce a science fair was difficult, but she knocked it out of the park, and she did a truly fantastic job. Basically, there were 8 students per hour block. They were questioned by the faculty members, and the faculty members all had a chance at, rating each student's piece of work. We also, we try to display the the projects Friday night. If you remember, that was the night before the blizzard. So we put them on the wave wall. We had some concerns that some parents wouldn't have a chance to see it. So we made some adjustments, and we were able to, to produce or to put out the projects for all parents to have an opportunity to see. We did that on Friday, the 28th. We also continued it on Monday after school for parents to have the same opportunity, as well as our own students Monday being able to go by and look at some of the projects and the hard work that the students put into it. The top 5 students in the science fair will be going to the junior science and engineering fair. Off the top of my head, I don't have a date for that. I will check with Miss Brazil. But those top 5 students, I know you guys have the group in front of you. First place was Max Fraioli. Second place was Tim Roberts. Third place, Maze Miller. Fourth place, Colby Nixon. And fifth place was James Mottram. All of those students will be able to present at the Junior Science and Engineering Fair at a later date. They truly did an outstanding job. Having an opportunity to go down and see them talk, it was really neat to see some of the young men dressed up in shirts and ties and dress pants, and the same is true with the girls, in nice dresses. Very well represented there at the Science and Engineering Fair.
Great. Thank you. Anyone have any questions for Mr. McKinnon? Nope. Okay, awesome. I heard some great things about it. Also on Spotlight is the bullying update. I assume that is you as well, Mr. McKinnon?
It is me. A little bit about it. Again, that's in I want to say a document that you all have, that you have an opportunity to look at. There was an issue. When I say an issue, it was an investigation, I believe in October 18th. Our head teacher and our social worker did the investigation. It was during a practice outside after school. The investigation turned up that it was not necessarily bullying, just a disagreement between 2 players. As we do know, bullying is, no matter what you do, it's very difficult to push away. It shows its many evil heads in a lot of different ways. But I do know that the district has a couple of different opportunities for students, faculty members, to address it. One is a Google form that any student anonymously can get on and type anything. If they see something, they should say something. We also have a bullying report that has to be filled out, and it has to be investigated. And this can be brought up by, any parent, teacher, student. It doesn't matter. If we feel as though it applies, then we do the investigation.
Great, thank you. I appreciate
You're welcome.
that. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, great. On to the superintendent's report. Guess this is a way to bury the lead here. We have the introduction of the new Wilbur McMahon School Principal, Jack McKinnon. Maybe we should have switched those 2 around for this.
I was going to
Catch,
say
Madam
something, but it's not my place to say anything.
Good catch, Madam Chair. Obviously, he needs no introduction. Principal McKinnon is an alumnus of Wilbur McMahon School and a resident of Little Compton. And he has raised 5 children. I think his youngest are twins and they're seniors in high school.
That's correct.
Okay. And he's been in education for 35 years. He has taught every single level and been an administrator at every level at this point, elementary, middle, and high. Mr. McKinnon and I have known each other professionally for more decades than I want to recall. And then we spent a couple of decades not being in touch. And here we are working together. It is not easy to assume the principalship anytime. It is the most difficult job in administration. And he assumed it in the middle of a year and without a hiccup. And for that, I think everyone is grateful and expressing gratitude every day. And he also broke the internet when his introduction to the community was posted on Facebook. It had the most likes and the most comments, I think, in the history of the site, leaving a lot of your other wonderful posts in the dust. And so I would like to take this opportunity to, where is he? Okay, to formally welcome you to Little Compton. And it's wonderful that you live here. You are absolutely engaged in the community in various ways. And those of us who are carpetbaggers coming across state lines, you definitely will serve as a wonderful resource. You know the community, you're of it. So welcome, Jack McKinnon.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I don't know if you expect me to say anything here, but I do want to say how excited I am, to be in the district where, I live. I went to school some 40 some odd years ago. I certainly have my roots, set down in this community. I'm very proud of this community. Laurie, Dr. Mitchell, you talk about, the starting without a hiccup, but I think that's a tribute to, yourself, Carolyn, Mariah, John, and you know what, certainly the extraordinary staff and students at Wilburn McMahon School. I mean, there are some outstanding educators that we have. And I have to say this, if you're a parent and I know there are a lot of parents on a school committee and certainly in the audience tonight, we have great kids in this community. I truly believe that my experiences, over the last 35 years in education, but also my life experiences are going to benefit me here at Wilburn McMahon School. I look forward to working with the school committee, with our teachers and with our students. But thank you very much for those kind words, Miss Mitchell.
Great. We're happy to have you, Mr. McKinnon.
Thank you.
Next up, update on the 2021-2022 school year.
Thank you. I think it's a bit redundant, those who attended the budget workshop, but I will go through it again with a little bit of a spin. We're coming up on our 100th day of the school year, and that's always fun to see the kids running around with those weird glasses, the 100. I always wanted a pair. So if anyone has an extra pair, throw them in my mailbox. I want to just take this opportunity, at this 100th day, this week that has the 100th day in it. It's sort of a special time in schools. And I just want to say how grateful I am to serve in a community that during the most challenging times continues to collaborate and be committed to offering, with very few disruptions, a world-class education to all students. I think it's just a gift that we are open for business at all, given the circumstances, and the building just knocks it out of the park every day. That's not to say there isn't room for improvement, areas that we have failed at during this pandemic, but it is all new to us. And in spite of it all, I could not be prouder as a part of it and prouder of the staff that are my colleagues. And the families, many of them, I can see them all right there, their names in the audience. Since we last met, we've wrapped up our interim assessments, for the most part, already. We're heading into state survey season. You will be voting on one of those annual surveys in the next section of the meeting. And Survey Works, it's airborne as well. And we're also getting ready for our Rhode Island Comprehensive Assessment System, RICAS 2022. I saw the RICAS team working today, Jen Giles and Mary Elizabeth Miller, and Principal McKenna and Jonathan getting everything ready for the ELA testing window at the end of March, and the math testing window at the end of April. And those run for about a month, the window, not our testing. This is Black History Month, and the Historical Society in Wilbur McMahon School is hosting If Jane Should Be Sold, Stories of Enslavement, Indenture, and Freedom in Little Compton. The panels are up on the west side of our building, along the walls, along some of the glazing, and they're just, if you've read the book, as I have, I'm sure many of you have, it's still worth coming in to see the panels and doing the walk. It really is something to behold. We're on target to meet our 2023 deadline for high quality ELA and math curriculum in place, and also the literacy credentialing requirement, proficiency level and awareness level of all staff. At the end of this year, 100% of the staff, including the principal and the superintendent, will be credentialed to offer tier 1 supports in literacy in any classroom. So that's kind of cool. It was one extra thing on everyone's plate, but it is a state mandate that I think we are all in sync with. We have shifted to EL Education, which is formerly Expeditionary Learning, and that is our ELA curriculum program. And I have to say, it is, it's a heavy lift, but a wee bit lighter, given that the school was using a couple of components of it in the past years. And I'm hearing that many of the anchor texts are really engaging kids in ways that no one could have predicted. So I just want to say thank you to everyone involved in that. The district has secured a science consultant to get us ready for the 2024 deadline for upgrading science curriculum across the state. And we're on course to do that. Bravo, bravo, bravo. Some of you might be aware, and some of you might not, the Nathan Bruno / Jason Flatts Act that was passed last summer. This piece of state legislation mandates, in addition to updated crisis response policies and procedures, which we do have, we have an up-to-date, I would say, exemplary emergency response plan and crisis response policy. On top of those two that need to be tweaked and brought into full compliance with the statute, annually, we must offer suicide prevention programming for all of our kids and training for all of our staff, and we will be launching that soon. We are partnering with the Department of Ed to implement MindWise Innovations Signs of Suicide program across grades 6 through 8. This is another state mandate, and it's long overdue. And we're looking into a training module focused on the Columbia Protocol. That is the protocol used by our clinicians and the clinicians across the region. And so that'll be a 1-hour program for our employees. So there are a lot of state mandates and a lot of deadlines, but we are on top of them and ahead of them, actually. And each one brings our school district forward in any number of ways: social, emotional, learning support for kids, high school pathways through our Zello program. That was another state mandate that we actuated 2 years ago, but we're in full bore at full bore now. All of these state mandates come from community feedback, administrative feedback, the feedback of clinicians and higher ed game changers in various schools of education throughout the state and the Northeast. And every single piece of legislation that has been enacted and every change that those pieces have brought to schools impacts our kids in ways that are so necessary right now during these challenging times. I feel like we're heading into hopefully some normalcy in the fall, but right now, things are pretty status quo when it comes to the conditions that we are teaching in and our kids are learning in. So all of these programs, curriculum and otherwise, are supportive, affirming, and but they are work. And so any staff among the 31 attendees, once again, gratitude, gratitude, gratitude for being all in and always bringing your A game. It's been a lot of demands, but we've met them. And I think in most ways we're exceeding them. So that is my update, all positive, good stuff that's happening in our district and other districts. And until next month.
Thank you, Lori. Next up is the finance report. Mr. McNamee.
So I take it the committee is not sick of hearing from me already?
We
I'll
are,
make
but
it-
maybe the public isn't.
I'll make it brief. As I indicated at the prior meeting, the audited financial statements have been finalized, and we are coming into the FY22 year with about $269,000 of accumulated surplus. My projection through January, and again, as I explained it at previous meetings, I tend to be pretty conservative when I look at that number. In the sense that I try to identify those areas where I know we're going to have some excess spending, but I haven't really identified those areas where we're going to have the cost savings in at year end. So based on that, I am projecting approximately $47,000 of a deficit. And that's really being generated by two main areas. One is our salary expenses up over budget. Overtime is up a little bit higher. Some of that is a result of quarantining. The stipend projection is up as a result of the class coverages. We put that into the budget. And we have the additional compensation at the principal level minus the breakage in terms of the teacher that resigned, and we're having that position filled with a lower cost teacher. And again, we are seeing some increases in our custodial and maintenance supplies, and this is a result of a couple of things. One is a lot of it is COVID related, but last year I didn't really budget for the filters that we have to put into these air exchange system, and those can be fairly costly. We've got a couple of bills in there for over $5,000 or $6,000 for filters. So I'm anticipating that we'll probably be a little bit over in that particular area. But other than that, everything else looks like it's in line. I do think that by the end of the year, there will be much closer to break even than we are at this point in time. So that's my report.
Great, thank you. Anyone on the committee have any questions for Mr. McNamee? No, okay. Let's see. Next up, our committee reports. 8.1 is policy subcommittee. There was no policy subcommittee meeting since the last meeting. 8.2, Portsmouth School Committee Liaison report. Hannah, do you have something to report? Yeah.
I have a lot to report.
Okay.
There's been 2 meetings in Portsmouth since our last meeting in January. They met on January 19th and they met last night on the 8th. So I'll just highlight the big things. They're beginning and ongoing with their budget discussions, much like we are. They're also still awaiting the appointment of their new member. That is expected to happen at Portsmouth Town Council meeting on February 14th. And then most of my updates actually come from the Portsmouth High School Student Council liaisons, Aislinn Sullivan and Ruth McKinnon. That's my favorite part of the update from Portsmouth because it actually gives us some insight onto what our little Compton students are doing in their district. So what's happening in Portsmouth right now is ongoing STAR testing for all grades. Midterms have been canceled, which was reported students are very relieved about as they're able to catch up amid COVID outages and things like that, both on the staff and student level. Senior project presentations went very well. The 2021 AP results have come in and all academic placement students scored a 3 or above on their exams, which means they will receive academic credit at their college for those courses. Course selection for the next school year has also started. And as I've mentioned in my updates before, Portsmouth is really stepping up their game in terms of CTE, early enrollment programs, their AP courses, and then just even their regular academic offerings. Those were presented a couple months ago, and they're just really, to me, seem really exciting and interesting. So I hope our students take advantage of those. Over the weekend, the Model UN team won 2 awards at a competition in Boston. So congratulations to them. And lastly, if anybody is interested in participating or donating, there's an ongoing Girls Supporting Girls fundraiser for hygiene products going on in the main office of the Portsmouth High School building there. I think that's where the drop off is, and it's hygiene products for local girls. And that's it. They canceled their meeting for February 22nd. So I will meet with them again in March.
Great, thank you. It's always nice to hear what the students are up to. Great, thank you. Where are we? Town Recreation Committee Liaison.
Yeah.
Rita?
Yes, that's me. There were 2 meetings since I have last sat with this committee. So lots going on. We heard about the grant request for the tennis court renovations and lighting. So that grant by now should have been submitted. So we'll hear within a short time how that project's going. Very exciting. Also, there are some improvements to the storage facility, the right outside the baseball field. Yeah, so the building needs some renovations. And so there are a group of young adults who play on the baseball field who've offered to volunteer their time if we supply the materials to help spruce that up. So we're excited about that. And another project is some signage, some improved signage in that area so visitors can see who the fields are named for and a little bit of history there. So adding a bit of charm to that part of town.
Great, thank you. 8.4 Wellness Committee Liaison Report.
We'll just keep going. And we had a wonderful meeting on the 25th of January. Some of the discussion was around the free breakfasts and lunches. And we heard from Rhode Island Healthy Schools Coalition, the representative Corinne, suggesting that we support that. There's a petition going around, and you might have seen, some others might have seen an article in Secundant Times last week about what's happening with free breakfasts and lunches. So we'll see what happens with that after the pandemic support is through. The other exciting thing about Rhode Island Healthy Kids is they're offering professional education for our PE staff. And so Nicole and Jay are going to take advantage of those programs. And they're also, Nicole and Jay are actually working with some curriculum specialists to improve our K-4 PE curriculum. And it's coming along very nicely is what I've heard. Yeah, and Lori's yes. So that was all good news. And yeah, just staying on wellness with focus on health and wellness. That's it.
Great, thank you, Rita.
Thank you.
9-1, public input. Again, I'd like to remind everyone we're allowing for 3 minutes tonight. One time, 3 minutes. You have something to say, please raise your hand now. Okay, item 10, action items. First up is to consider, discuss, and vote to approve the superintendent's goals.
You just got two hands that went up.
Okay, I will backtrack. Jonathan, if at your discretion, you can unmute and let them in. Please state your name and your address, and it'll be 3 minutes, please.
Okay, first up is Kristen Moniz. You should be able to unmute yourself now.
Hi, Jonathan. Can you hear me?
Sounds good.
Good evening. How are you doing? Thank you so much for allowing us to speak in public session. And
We
thank you,
did still
Polly.
need your name and address, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Kristen Moniz, 208 Long Highway.
Thanks.
Thank you for letting us speak in public comment, and thank you for letting us speak throughout the meeting, Polly. I just wanted to point out that I did put on the agenda, and we had already talked about it, Polly, through email, or requested to put on the agenda the vaccination policy that requires all staff, workers, public, family, friends, anyone to enter the building at Wilbur McMahon School to show proof of vaccination in order to enter the building as an agenda item on this meeting. And I guess due to time constraints or due to the fact that there were no action items regarding that, my request was not honored. So I'm a little upset about that just because you all know that I was a teacher at Wilbur McMahon School for 12 years, and I chose to resign from my position due to the vaccination mandate. I currently work in another school district that does not have a vaccination mandate for the teachers or any of the community members. So I just wanted to highlight the importance that agenda item be brought up ASAP. I don't know the ins and outs of how that goes. I know it has to first go to a sub policy meeting, then to the board. But I think that it's very important that that becomes readdressed because mandates around the country are being dropped. No other school districts are preventing parents from attending their child's school. I have not set foot in that building except for a recreation basketball game that just happened a week ago. And I was actually able to view some of the science fair projects sitting in the hallway only because I was there for a recreation basketball game. I myself was one of the most dedicated parents and volunteers for that building. And I can no longer volunteer in that building due to the vaccination mandates. And I know several community members, parents and grandparents that are being shut out of the building presently from basketball games. And they were shut out from the science fair because there was no in-person viewing of the entire fair. I'm very upset about it because my children are into arts, they're into music, they're into theater. They have not had a band concert, a chorus concert. They chose not to participate in theater this year because of the vaccination mandates and because they knew their family members were not going to be able to attend. I'm also confused as to why Little Compton does not have any in-person events when the surrounding towns such as Tiverton, Middletown, Newport, Portsmouth, Bristol, Warren are all having in-person events. Granted, they are not
3-minute warning. I'm sorry, we're going to stick to the 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you for your-
appreciate it. And you know, none of you got back to me from my letter that I wrote. I wrote a very long letter and 0 people wrote back except for 1 person reached out. And I do.
Okay. We are sticking to 3 minutes. We cannot comment as a committee on this policy. It is not on the agenda tonight. I will comment the process that if you want something on the agenda, you can reach out by email. There is also a form. Email is fine with me. There are some items are going to be on the agenda next month, and that's how we chose to honor it. Instead of having multiple months of discussion, we knew it was coming up next month. Okay, Jonathan?
Up next is Andrew Ryan. You should be able to unmute yourself and please state your name and address.
Andrew Ryan, 40 Paget Brook Road. Thanks for letting us speak again. And I want to just thank the committee for instituting and keeping the vaccine mandate in place. I like the fact that my kids go to school and I know the teachers and staff there are vaccinated as they are. But my comment is about the couple things. One, I'm very concerned about the use of remote learning when there is inclement weather, when it, you know, I think in the past we would have had a half a school day or something, and now we just go remote, it seems like, instead of trying to get part of the school day in person, which is really disruptive. And I think last Friday is a really good example of that. There was a little bit of, you know, potential frozen precipitation coming, and you know, in the afternoon to evening, and then school was canceled the night before, and so a lot of people are left scrambling. And I think that's just something that, as a policy, the school really should look at. And then also, I'm not sure who's in charge of clearing the walkways and access to the school after a large snowstorm, but no one bothered to really plow Veterans Field, the parking lot there, so you could actually like drop your kids off. It was very difficult to walk to school to get the kids, you know, across there. My understanding is the town's responsibility, and so, but does anyone from the school or school board look at what's happened and how they clean up and actually get them to come out and do a better job if they don't do their job?
So I'm going to toss this over to Lori, because I don't want to get into, because it's not on the agenda, I don't want to get into a school committee discussion on it, but Lori can.
Dr. Ryan, I was on site that weekend as the guys were clearing. And you're right, we were focused on the immediate area where the school is. We were focused on the front. We were focused on the rear where parents walk to pick up their kids at dismissal, elementary dismissal. I did not drive to Veterans Field, neither did other staff. I did receive a letter from a stakeholder, and I did get back to that stakeholder. I did have our head custodian. He and I did reach out to figure out, what happened to Veterans Field. Moving forward, that will never happen again. We will coordinate better with the town.
Great, thank you. Thank you for that.
Up next is Matt Nicole. You should be able to unmute yourself now. If you could please state your name and address.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Great. Matt Nicole, 40B Old Main Road. First, I wanted to say I second what Dr. Ryan was saying about remote school days. Give the kids snow days. If it's a snow day, let them go out in the snow. Don't make them watch math videos on YouTube, please. Let them enjoy it. That's just my opinion on that. I know you're not going to comment on things. I'd just like to state that I'm suddenly confused about what changed between the time the vaccination policy was being discussed and now. I remember clearly being told many times there were no events being planned between now and the time the vaccination policy would be reconsidered in March. And I heard through the grapevine that parents were put into the vestibule for that kind of thing. I know you can't comment, but I wonder aloud and hope you'll consider whether or not putting parents who are unvaccinated or unjabbed or whatever you want to call it into a single place may be a way to actually violate the confidentiality clause that you had in the vaccination policy that says you'll keep people's status private. I know that there's a lot of stigma going around. I see the survey coming up around bullying, and I'm aware that there's bullying going on between kids around vaccination statuses. So just something to consider as you go forward. I know that you couldn't have seen these events coming up, and so you probably can't see that this type of thing is going to cause pain for people in the town also, but please consider this as you go forward. Thanks.
Right, Mr. Nicole.
It looks like that. Oh, one more hand here. Christine Oliveira, if you can unmute yourself and state your name and address as well.
Christine Oliveira, 49 Long Highway.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
As one of the 8th grade parents, just want to say again, it was really difficult. You know, my son spent a lot of time working on his project and not being able to be there. And he actually told us, like, it's discrimination. And then, you know, when we were trying to do the second part to come to the vestibule, he was like, don't even bother. I just really hope you guys are taking into consideration the kids. And these are conversations the kids are having. This is part of them, their stress, their anxiety, amongst friends. Are you vaccinated? Is your parents? Why are you not? Blah, 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 blah. Like, it's being lifted everywhere else. It just seems that we keep getting harder and harder and harder when everything else is going in the opposite direction. So again, I know it's not on the agenda, even though I myself as well emailed to have it put on the agenda. So hopefully it'll be on the next one. But this really, like, it needs to stop. It needs to stop. This is hurting the kids. Thank you.
Thank you.
One more hand went up there. Roger Lord, if you can unmute yourself now and state your name and address.
Hi, it's Roger Lord, 29 Bramblewood Cross in Little Compton. I'd just like to, haven't asked in a while, so I figured I'd ask tonight. How many students are currently enrolled at Wilbur, both in-town students as well as tuition students?
Do you have that? Who has that handy? We did have it.
201 in Wilbur, and then there's 87 students that attend Portsmouth High School.
Thank you, Travis.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, I muted myself, sorry. We had one more hand go up in there. Just the name Christy, if you can unmute yourself, we'll need your full name and address, please.
Hi, my name's Christy Salamito. My address is 18 Secana Trail. I'm just calling regarding the vax mandate. I hope that you lift that, as well as the mask mandate. I'm currently homeschooling my son because he does not want to be masked. I didn't get to listen in on everything. I'm very sorry. I was putting my kids to bed, but I just really hope that we can lift all this stuff. I moved from Long Island into a small city of Little Compton, and I feel like it's almost worse than it was in Long Island. The restrictions are horrible. The kids can't be kids, and it's really heartbreaking for me as a kindergarten mom.
Thank you.
That was the last hand.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you, everyone. Next up is the action items. 10.1, consider, discuss, and vote to approve the superintendent's goals for the 2021 to 2022 school year. We met in executive session and reviewed superintendent's goals. And we are now here to vote on them unless anyone has any comments first. Do I See a motion. Do I hear a motion to
Motion to
approve the
approve
superintendent?
the 2021, 2022 goals.
Thank you, Travis. Second,
Second.
Rita? Vote by roll call, please, Mariah?
Polly Allen,
Aye.
Travis Audi,
Aye.
Anna Ayat,
Aye.
Rita Kenahan,
Aye.
Mike Rocha. Sorry, Mike Rocha.
Muted. Aye.
Great. Thank you. Motion carries. Yep, we heard you that time, Mike. Motion carries. Next up, consider, discuss, and vote to approve the Rhode Island student survey. I believe we have Rebecca Elwell in, she's in the attendance, attendees. Could we allow her to speak on the Rhode Island student survey, please?
Sure. You should be able to unmute yourself now, Rebecca.
Jonathan, I see she's on twice. She's
Oh yeah,
got,
I just
yeah.
noticed that. Okay, hold on. Sorry. Let's try that one.
Thank you very much. I think that should have done it. Unfortunately, in my office, I don't have a tech crew to help me, so I have to be on two devices. It's embarrassing, but one is for audio and one is for visual. So we're in the Stone Age here. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of the Rhode Island Student Survey. There are many other things I'd like to speak on, like congratulating Jack in his position as well. The Rhode Island Student Survey is a survey that is administered every 2 years throughout the state of Rhode Island, going back to 2016. I want to thank Little Compton schools for always agreeing to do this, and not only agreeing to administer the survey, but always ensuring that a high percentage of the 7th and 8th graders participate. It's really important, especially in a small school, that we get great representation of the students so that their voices are heard at the state level also. All of the schools last year in Newport County, middle schools and high schools, with the exception of Middletown because of a COVID situation, everyone participated. So Newport County had a really terrific representation at the state level in terms of our student voice. The survey that's presented is a survey that is designed by the Department of Behavioral Health, Behavioral Health, Developmental Disabilities, and Hospitals, but it is sent out by BHTDH as well as the Department of Health and by Rhode. About a month ago, Dr. Mitchell should have received a letter from the department heads of all 3 of those departments with their support and encouragement for all schools to participate. This year, the window for participation is between February and May. The survey is designed to take no more than 45 minutes, but in actuality, it generally takes students somewhere between 20 and 30 minutes. At the high school level, it's about 20 to 25, and at the middle school level, it's usually about 25 to 30. Seems to take just a little bit longer for the younger students to process the nature of the questions. So it's not a tremendous amount of time away from academics. The value for the survey is that it focuses on health issues and decision-making among young people, which helps to bring in funding for social emotional learning. And especially in this COVID age, we know that that is so incredibly important to be taking care of the students' emotional needs as well as their physical and academic needs. I would be happy to answer questions. I'm not sure. The one thing I think I want to say before answering questions is that the survey is anonymous, it's confidential, and it's voluntary for the students. So even if a student opts to do the survey, they can change their mind midway through and say, forget it, I don't want to do this. Their names are not associated with the survey. And their parents will be given the opportunity for a passive consent. So what that means is if the parent is fine with their student participating in the survey, they don't need to do anything. If a parent chooses to opt their child out of taking the survey, that's when they just need to fill out the passive permission slip and say, I prefer my student not to participate. And at Wilbur McMahon, it's just the 7th and 8th graders that are taking the survey.
Great. Does anyone, thank you, Rebecca. Does anyone have on the committee have any questions for Rebecca about the Rhode Island Student Survey?
I do, Polly.
Okay, Mike.
So, Rebecca, you mentioned that the parents have the opportunity to opt in or opt out, I believe, for the students to take the survey. Do the parents get to see the survey prior to opting in or opting out?
I can't see why not. It's a public, well, I mean, it's not probably accessible on a website anywhere, but it is a public document. So I would imagine the school could send it out along with the permission slip.
And you mentioned about that this is tied to funds. And what does that do for Little Compton, please?
In the past, it has opened up Little Compton for prevention funding. So my role in Newport County is to try to bring in social emotional learning funds, substance abuse prevention funds, suicide prevention funds, and Tiverton, sorry, this has been night after night of survey talk. Little Compton has, as part of Newport County, been awarded funding that has helped to address some of the social emotional learning strategies that have been put forth.
Okay,
and
so,
I suppose, well, to add that, I'm not sure specifically for Little Compton how it's been used by the school, but I know that in other districts that I've worked with, they take the data from that survey, and that's what they use also when they're applying for foundation grants or other opportunities. In my work in Tiverton, probably 5 years ago when I left there, they had just finished up 10 years of a drug-free community grant that was awarded to the school, and that was $125,000 per year. And that was, they utilized the survey results to first to show the need, and then over the years to show the progress that was being made based on the survey results.
thank you. Polly, you've been here longer, so do you know how this has been administered before? Was this sent out to parents so that they could view this ahead of time when the permission slips went out?
I believe it was by request. If parents wish to see it, I believe the superintendent emailed them a copy. Hannah?
I believe the survey was actually published with our agenda under public comment. Mike, if you want to look at it, and I think that means anybody in the public who goes to our board docs site can view it there as well without having to request it from anybody.
Oh, I'm viewing it right now, and I'm just wondering that if a permission slip's being sent home for parents to either agree to it or not to agree to it, they would need to know what they're agreeing or not agreeing to if they don't see the actual document in front of them.
Parents can find it on the agenda.
That's
where
tonight.
you're viewing it now.
That's right. That's tonight. But if this
The
does pass,
agenda is always up.
can you please let me finish? What I'm trying to say is that if a permission slip doesn't go out for another month or 2 months from now, is this going to go out with the permission slip so that parents can actually view this ahead of time?
And
That's
I believe if any parents are concerned when they get the passive permission, they can reach out to the administration. The administration will forward it on. We wouldn't send home a printed out copy with the student ahead of time. So I believe it would be up to the administration to answer any requests from parents.
And
Mike, how would you like them to do it, Mike? How would you suggest it be done?
we'll do it.
I would like to see it. I would like to see if it's a link or what have you, if we put out a link that the parents can click on it and actually view this before they actually say yes or no, and give them the opportunity, because not everybody is on board with surveys, especially with some of the questions that are being asked in this survey. And that's my concern.
If I may, Madam Chair, we could very easily do that. I made sure to make it public content for that very reason. And, but we'll make it, more readily linkable, like ready reference when we send out the Parent Square passive permission slip.
Great, thank you.
May I just add one more comment? I think that sharing with parents or having parents have the opportunity to look at it in advance is a great idea. We want parents to be on board with even thinking about some of these topics. Some parents may not even be aware that their students are exposed to these topics amongst one another. And it's really important for parents to know that topics such as suicide and substance use and bullying are topics that their children are having conversations about. So that's a really positive thing. I would also, however, caution parents that if they are taking a look at the survey in advance, that they please not share it with their student, because part of taking the survey for the student so that they're answering honestly, and off the top of their head, is that one, they haven't had a lot of time to think about their answers. We want it to be spontaneous and honest. If a student is given an opportunity to think too much about the survey, it will absolutely skew the way that they answer the questions. And I would suggest that maybe their answers wouldn't be as genuine or sincere as they otherwise might be. And then the other part about it is we don't want children to be influenced in their answers either by their parents or by their friends, which could easily happen if there's a large conversation amongst the students about what the survey will entail. And it's not about not having the parents and the children have the conversation, because my dearest hope would be that parents are having these conversations with their kiddos around the dinner table or any time that they have an opportunity. But I would ask parents to have that conversation with their kids after their children take the survey, just to give the kids an opportunity to be as genuine and we don't want the kids to be influenced. We want them to be as least influenced in taking the survey as possible. And then talk after the fact.
Great, thank you. Does anyone else on the committee have any questions? I see a hand in the audience. I'm not sure if that is regarding the Rhode Island Student Survey.
Well, we can find out. That
Okay.
is Chartier again. If you can unmute yourself and confirm your name and address, I guess.
Sure. Kimberly Chartier, 9 High Meadow Road, Little Compton.
Thank you.
First of all, this is mind-blowing to me that it wouldn't be automatic that you would link a survey of this magnitude with the opt-out form to the parents. I mean, I just can't get over this. If parents knew what some of these questions were, I mean, I'm not so sure you would be happy with your child answering a question about what they identify as. I mean, heterosexual, gay, lesbian, bisexual. And the fact that you don't want the parents to have an influence on their children, you want them to fill this out and not talk to their parents prior to this. Their parents should be the most influential people in their entire life right now at this age. I hope that parents are listening And I hope that you look at this survey that apparently takes 40 minutes for your child to fill out because of the process, the processing the nature of the questions. I don't know. I don't know if I'm the only one, but that's my 2 cents. I think you should make sure that you look at these questions and you demand to opt your child out. This is crazy. Thank you.
Mrs. Chartier, if I may.
Yes.
Mrs. Allen, may I speak again?
Yes, you may. Yep.
Thank you. I just want to point out and make sure that my perspective is crystal clear. I believe that parents are the most important and vital influence on their children. I have said multiple times in my conversation here that I hope that parents are having these conversations with their children. These are the vital questions that are happening in children's lives as they grow. And it is so important that these are the conversations parents have all of the time with their kids. And certainly after the survey, if children have questions and want to have a conversation. All I was asking was simply that parents do not review the survey with the child ahead of time, because the child is not going to answer the same way that they would answer if it were a spontaneous experience. And I don't want you to misconstrue that I'm saying in any way that parents should not be the most important influence.
Thank you. We have a couple
Two more, yeah, go up.
Yep.
Andrew Ryan, you should be able to unmute yourself now.
Yeah, Andrew Ryan, 40 Paget Brook Road. I wanted to thank the speaker for bringing this up. These types of topics are so important that the school has resources to help children as they mature, understand who they are and their place in the world. And I also would remind parents and the school board that many homes are not safe places for students that don't identify as their parents might think they should, and that it's absolutely critical that schools are a resource for kids who are at homes that aren't as supportive as they should be.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan.
Up next, Jenna Magnuski, if you can unmute yourself and state your name and address.
Jenna Magnuski, 51 Stone Church Road. I wanted to reinforce what other folks have said, which is that the point of not having extended conversations with your children about these topics immediately prior to the survey is because with how important parents are to their children, they are going to respond differently based on the way that you react to some of these questions and the topics. And I also, I have talked openly with my children about LGBTQ plus issues, and simply asking the question, you know, if a child feels strongly that they are not transgender, they'll just say that they're not transgender. And there's a question that one of the answers is, I don't even know what this means. So, you know, I think that there is, you know, a lot of research out there that asking children if they've thought about suicide doesn't then make them suddenly start thinking about it excessively, doesn't make them more likely to attempt. And so I think we need to take into context what level of risk there really is with asking these questions, particularly when we have students who do need to be able to speak through the survey.
Great, thank you, Jenna.
And the last hand up right now is Matt Nicole. If you can unmute and state your name and address, please.
Thanks. Matt Nicole, 40B Old Main Road. I just read through the survey. Looks pretty good. It's quite negative. I'm super bummed out after just reading through it right now. And I understand the idea that giving someone a survey about suicide once probably doesn't make them commit suicide. But after reading 16 pages of nothing but negativity, I can't imagine that someone isn't gonna at least feel like, oh man, like a little bit. And it's a little bit shocking me. Also, there's a question where the word Tylenol is mentioned, and then it says not Tylenol. I don't even know what Tylenol number 3 is. So you might want to just, it's a little bit confusing when you get there. There's probably gonna be some kids that get stuck on that. But this is an insanely negative survey. And I understand that you can start to do some kind of differentiation on some kind of variables that you have in here, but this is it's shocking to read. And I know that I went back and tried to find the old ones already. I get these questions have already been asked of the kids, so you get to do some longitudinal data, look at what happens year over year. Totally awesome. But to think that this doesn't have an effect, that the school's going to ask me about all these things, even though I know it's coming from a different organization, I would love to see a survey like this from the school, forget this other group, that asks where kids want to go with their life and what they're looking forward to and what they look up to. I haven't seen anything like that. This is shocking. Thanks.
Mrs. Allen, one more time.
Yep, go ahead.
One of the pieces that I neglected to mention in the first place is that this is a survey that's done on a computer device, and it generates a skip pattern, because I would have to agree with Mr. Nicole's assessment that if I had to sit and read question by question by question, I'd probably get I would probably be bored if I were a child or a young student. So what happens with the survey is if they answer no to something, it doesn't ask them 5 more ways. So if a student, for example, says that they've never taken a medication or misused a medication, it doesn't ask them to then, have they ever taken Tylenol? Have they ever taken X, Y, and Z? Those would be skipped. As well as, I know that there are bullying questions, and if a child says, they've never experienced that, it just skips to the next section. It doesn't continue to belabor the point about bullying. If you haven't been bullied, you just move on. The computer will skip you forward to the next set of questions. Because for that very reason, we don't want to be hammering away at anyone. What we do want to give is the opportunity for young people to express concerns or experiences where they may benefit from additional resources as a whole, because again, I'll emphasize these are not tied to any given student. All of the information is aggregated, which means no student or identifiable person can be matched up with their answers. And furthermore, if you have say for some reason Little Compton had a exceedingly small return of the survey answers below a certain percentage, those answers would not even be put into the mix at the state level. For the protection, we would never want a student to be able to be determined by a small sample size. So that's also part of the nature of the survey. And it is a group at the University of Rhode Island that analyzes the survey results, because again, we wouldn't want that to be someone who had any potential knowledge of any of the families or children, because we do really respect their family privacy and the confidentiality.
Great, thank you.
We got a committee hand and one more in the audience.
Okay, committee hand?
That would be Rita.
Hi, thanks, Polly. I just want to comment here because if some of you know, I work as a school nurse in the public schools, and this is my age group. And when I see and hear some of the suffering of children in this age group, to know that we have an opportunity to take maybe 25 minutes out of a child's day to gather and aggregate some data that can give us something useful that would help us potentially to get some grant funds to address some of these issues, I am very, very supportive. And I'm sure, to Mr. Nicole's point, there are ways that we engage our children with their futures, with their positive futures, but this unfortunately is what we're dealing with now. And so I'm very supportive, and I thank you Mrs. Elwell.
My pleasure.
Great, thank you. Ian's hand, Jonathan?
Yep. Christine Oliveira, if you can unmute yourself and state your name and address.
Christine Oliveira, 49 Long Highway. Are these surveys anonymous that the
Yes,
students are taking?
yes.
Okay. So how are you going to be able to help? So just let's say a child is suicidal or going through something. How are they going to be able, or how are you or whoever gets these, how is it going to be helpful to that student if it's anonymous? It seems like they're just being guinea pigged on if they're not going to be able to get someone to get back to them directly if they're anonymous. That doesn't make sense.
Mrs. Elwell, would you like to answer Mrs. Oliveira's question?
So I can try.
Okay.
The nature of the survey is sort of to bring universal supports to a school population, which means not a specific support to a specific child. We couldn't begin to ask questions of this nature and not leave it as confidential. We would be violating children's privacy and all of their rights to private, especially health information. We just couldn't do that at a state level, or a regional level. So one of the ways that could be beneficial. So if a school has a student in their surveys that has indicated that there is concern about suicide, for example, the school would be alerted to that. And Little Compton is sort of a unique situation because I'm not even sure how many 7th and 8th graders there are. But I am sure that if the school was aware that there was a student who indicated a concern about suicide, that all of the students would then be given some sort of support. As Mrs. Mitchell, Dr. Mitchell mentioned earlier, it is now a state mandate that all schools provide for their 6th, 7th, and 8th graders annual suicide information. So they would be able to provide some support in a more general way and also identify to all of the students who is a potential person that would be very helpful if they were having an experience where they felt like they needed to talk to someone. They might suggest a favorite teacher. They might suggest Miss Miller, Mary Elizabeth Miller. They might suggest the school nurse, someone that a student would know that they could reach out to if they were struggling. But you're absolutely right, Mrs. Oliveira, they would not be able to identify the student specifically.
This question came up, I don't know if it was 2 years ago or 4 years ago. And we decided that before the kids took the survey, that we were just going to do a reminder to the students of all the supports. And I know the school is constantly reminding and reaching out to students, but specifically we made sure that whoever facilitated the giving of the survey made sure to remind the students of who the supports were and how to go about getting help. So I'm sure we could do that again. All right, any more questions? Thank you, Mrs. Elwell.
My pleasure, Polly.
I would consider a motion to approve the Rhode Island student survey.
You have a motion?
Rita,
Second.
Travis. All in favor? Sorry, I'd like to take a vote by roll call, please.
Can we
Aye.
have discussion on that?
I'm sorry, what, Mike?
Can there just be discussion on that so that we can approve it with access to the parents so they can have access to this with the permission slip?
Do you want to make a motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion.
Okay.
That we can approve the survey as long as parents have access to the survey with the permission slip.
Okay, so that'd be, just because I'm a stickler for Robert's rules, that would be an amendment, okay? So we're gonna vote on your amendment. All right, so
Sure.
Mike's made the amendment. Is there a first? I will give you your first. Anyone have a second?
Second.
Okay, there we go. So let's vote on the amendment. Sorry, I'm a little rusty on amendments. By way of roll call. Sorry, Mariah.
Polly Allen,
Aye.
Travis Audi,
Aye.
Hannah Ea,
Aye.
Rita Kenahan,
Aye.
Mike Rocha.
Aye.
Okay. So now we go back to the original motion of approving the Rhode Island Student Survey. We have a motion from Rita, we have a second from Travis, and we'll vote by way of roll call.
Polly Allen,
Aye.
Travis Audi,
Aye.
Hannah Ea,
Aye.
Rita Kenahan,
Aye.
Mike Rocha.
Aye. So we're voting for two, I'm sorry, we're voting for both motions. The motion plus the amendment, correct? Just so
Right, the amendment carried to go on the original motion that we could include a link for parents to
Okay,
the survey.
all right, thank
Okay.
you.
Motion carries unanimously. All right. Done. Sorry, I've got papers everywhere here. Okay, next, consider, discuss, and vote to approve any request for information from administration and or legal counsel. Anyone?
I have a question, please.
Okay, go ahead, Mike.
This one kind of hits home for myself, to my own family. I actually went into the office this past week and I saw a sign on the window where it said, per the Little Compton School Committee. And it lists three things. It says 2 fans / player, mask required, vaccination card present. I understand 2 and 3. We've discussed that before, but we've never discussed number 1. And that's a real concern for me because coming from a blended family and having multiple parents. So basically what this is saying that and I'll use my case as an example, that if we have a student that's in the school and we have 3 different parents, that's what that is saying, is that they're not allowed to go, because it's and I should preempt this by saying the picture's showing a basketball. What that's saying is that the 3 parents would not be allowed to go watch the player. And what really bothered me on this was what it said, that it was per the Little Compton School Committee. And number 1 has never come up, that we've never discussed that, because if it did, I would have explained, or I would have expressed my concerns that I have right now. And I know what Jack's going to say on that. This is some sort of rule and that goes on with other leagues or something, the groups. But to see that our name as a committee is being put to something that we didn't discuss, something that's real near and dear to me because of my situation, I just want to know an explanation. Why was that put on there that we never even discussed that? Because I would have expressed my concerns to the rest of you at that time.
We can't discuss it. It wasn't on the agenda, but if someone, Lori, if you want to handle it, or we can put it on a future agenda.
I'm not sure what, I haven't seen that sign. Was the sign referencing the vaccination mandate?
It references 3 different things, but
okay.
One was mask, one was vaccination, which I'm not going to beat that tonight down. My concern was number 1, where it says 2 fans / player. And what came to my mind was my example right away.
Yeah.
And because this has happened to us where at Portsmouth, when we went for a National Honor Society for one of my daughters, and we were not all allowed to go and see her receive an award. So when I see this, that's what I think of.
It's
So
a
this
fair
is not-
point, Mike.
This is not right. That,
That's a fair point. I mean, the whole league is doing 2 per rostered player, but that's a fair point, and that will be discussed with our scheduler and Principal McKinnon. I don't think it was ever meant to exclude. It's just something that's happening in that developmental league and also elsewhere, as you know. I think it's, you bring it, you know, you bring something to the table right now that no one really considered, and that has to change.
yeah, I mean, but the other part of it is though that it speaks that it was per the Little Compton School Committee. It was never per the Little Compton School Committee because we never discussed it. So I understand it's not on the agenda and we can't talk about it anymore, but that's not good. And I use myself as an example.
So Hannah, I see your hand, but I
It's a
want to,
question.
okay. I just wanted to caution you for.
Yeah, no, I don't want to discuss. I was gonna ask that since this is a vote to approve requests for info from admin, or maybe can we vote to request that the sign is delineated accurately as to who has set forth each rule? If it wasn't us that did the first one, if that can just say whoever it was, at least for now. And then I have a second request. I don't know if that needs to be voted on first though, or not, or.
So I actually don't think we can vote on it because it wasn't on the agenda. And so like we could bring up something totally random right now and we wouldn't be able to vote on it because people wouldn't know we were going to discuss it. So
Okay.
maybe there's like a whole community of people that would like to discuss this sign that didn't know we were going to discuss it tonight. So, but I can say that the administration can feel free to remove the sign and enforce the rules how they feel the policy reflects.
The sign will be removed.
Like I don't think that involves a vote. It can just.
Yeah, I didn't know if that was like,
didn't-
just, can we ask you to do that or not?
Right,
Like,
we didn't vote to put the sign up.
yeah.
Yeah,
And I do have something else once we're done with this topic.
okay. Travis, do you have something carefully to?
Yeah, so
suggest?
it's just a question, nothing to discuss, but so we've had multiple attendees tonight and participants bring up the concern of things that, the policies that we're not discussing this evening. Are we in fact going to discuss those at the next meeting?
So, yes, per the vaccination mandate itself, we need to discuss it before the end of March. It's in the policy that we need to discuss it before the end of March.
Okay.
Okay. So, Mike, the sign will be removed, and we will have some discussion moving forward about in a meeting.
That's fine. That's fine.
Sorry, I'm taking notes here. Hannah, did you have something for this agenda item? Or something else you wanted to say?
No, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, not seeing anything. I will entertain a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Moved. Second.
And then Travis, vote by roll call, please, Mariah.
Leon,
Aye.
Travisati,
Aye.
Ela,
Aye.
Rita Kennahan,
Aye.
Mike Rocha.
Aye.
Great, thank you all. Meeting's adjourned at 9:01. Thank you.
Thank you.